Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today we will have our third installment to reflect a couple of the deck profiles that did very well at the Greenville Regional last weekend. Right now, I'll go ahead and introduce Bradley as he goes over his second place Melodius deck profile.
Hey guys, how you doing? So like just said, I got second place at the Greenville Regional playing Pure Melodious. Quick shout outs just to my team, Alien Card Games, my sponsor, Gage and Crow, and then just pretty much the Greenville boys and all my playtest partners, my brother, and then my buddy Bryson in Texas for just kind of helping me with the list and kind of going over everything. So yeah. So we'll kind of get into it. So for the main starters is just the 3 retrain. This card pretty much is just your Mathematics Circular. This card just has 1 card combo for the whole deck. Does a lot. Just on of its own, just being a pendulum, as well as just regular monster. The next one is the 3 Couple. This card is your extender. Kind of gets your scale set up, as well as getting the fusion card, which is pretty broken. On top of that, the next one is going to be the 3 Sonata. A lot of people only play 2 of this card, but this card, honestly, in my opinion, is your best extender. Just being an inherent special summon, as well as boosting all your fairies by 500 attack and defense, I think is just pretty broken. So if your refrain kind of gets stopped, Sonata is just that extra extender to go into the Broken Link 2 in the extra deck. So that one's pretty important. So those are just the 3 O's for that. The next one is the Aria. This pretty much just sets up one of the better boards of the deck, just being where it can't be destroyed by battle, and your Melodious monsters cannot be targeted for card effects. So a lot of decks right now in the format kind of have a hard time with that, just by battle protection and target protection. So inherently, you just kind of save up all your interruptions until they kind of threaten you, and just kind of go from there. The next card that's really, really important to the deck is the Soprano. So this is just your fusion on legs. Pretty much going into that, you get 3 fusions with this deck, which honestly is pretty crazy in my opinion. So that just kind of helps you extend through a lot of plays. The next one is just the 1 cannon. This is just for your 1 card Baguska outs in this extra deck as well. If you get D-shifter or anything like that, it's just another extender. And the next one is the Chopina. This is the 1 brick you don't want to ever draw. Thankfully, I never saw this in my starting hands. So that was good. Overall, this card is just kind of broken, being a soft once per turn, adding any light fairy back to your deck. So that kind of does help out a lot for extra plays and extension. And probably the most broken card in the deck is the 3 Ostionato. This card is just stupid good. Being pretty much a branded fusion just helps out a lot. It's not once per turn as well, so having 2 of this in your hand, your opponent's kind of forced to ash it, and if you just have the second one, you're just kind of winning the game at that point. The next kind of that card is nuts, man. Like everyone is just slamming this into the deck too, so that's kind of one really, really important card. The next one is just the first movement solo. This one is just kind of your E-Telly for your Melodiouses. Sadly, this locks you into Melodious monsters, so that's kind of a big giveaway, which kind of sucks, but you can still end on the decent board with this. So that's not bad. And then the other one is the Melodious Consonero. This is just your fusion, as well as if a fusion monster is sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. A lot of people play 2 of this, but that's only if they're playing the Pot of Desires. I really honestly think you only need 1 of this. I saw this card in my hand probably out of my 8 matches. I saw this like 7 times, like almost every time, dude. It was ridiculous. Like it's the 1 brick, which kind of sucks. Like, it's not a brick, but it's like a semi-brick, and you're just like, man, like you don't want to have this. So that's just the main engine right there. So not too bad. And then the next thing is just with this deck, you can play so much non-engine. So that's like the biggest like appeal to this deck. So we got the 3 Pot of Prosperity. I think Pot of Prosperity is better than Pot of Desires in this deck, just because into the side deck, you want to see all your side deck cards. Melodius sometimes has a hard time dealing into wide boards. It can play into a lot of hand traps, but playing into like hard negates like an Apo and some other stuff does struggle a little bit. So I think the Pot of Prosperity is just a lot better. Next one, probably the best hand trap of the game. Gamma got limited, but we still have Orange Light at 3, and this card is just Gamma at home. So honestly, this is just the biggest appeal for the deck. You can also add it back off the Chopina, so you can just get infinite Gamma, like pretty much Herald loops. So it does help out a lot. The next one is 3 Veiler, pretty standard, 3 Ash, 3 Ogre. Ogre felt very lackluster. I wish I played Moonlit, but Ogre was there, necessary for like the U-Bell matchup and stuff like that, and Tempai. But if you're a good Tempai player, you honestly don't even need the field spell. You just have it up there for like pretty much protection in the main phase. And then if they make the level 10, you're just kind of like, well, can't do anything. Yeah, you're stuck, and you're like, well, crap. This was kind of lackluster. I wish this was Moonlit. Maybe in the next deck profile, it'll be Moonlit, but we'll kind of go for there, see how the meta evolves, and see what happens. And then Imperm just being Imperm, can't get Tactics, probably with the second best hand trap. And then we got Tactics in the main. The Tactics in the main isn't really just for the drawing power. It does help if your Oceanato gets Ash, but honestly, it's there just to rip a card out of your opponent's hand. Melodius can play through 3 hand traps pretty well with a good hand. Mainly 2 hand traps, but that Tactics, just ripping out a Nibiru or a really important starter, just kind of helps out a lot. So 41 cards in the main. Probably wouldn't change it at all. I really liked it. I think the one match that I lost was to Chimera Illusion, and that was honestly, again, because of Ogre, and I wish it was Moonlight, because Ogre does nothing against that deck. So, live and you learn. We'll kind of go from there. So going to the side deck. Side deck is just 3 evenly match. This card, honestly, was the best card of the side deck, and honestly, main deck too. The amount of times that I took out like 8+ cards on a Snake Eyes board or any other board, like this card is just stupid good. No Baron in the format anymore, no hard Omni negates, so this card kind of just shines, especially into the Voiceless matchup. This card is just, again, it shines so much. They set like 3 or 4, they end on their board, you have 2 of these in your hand, you're just breaking that whole board at that point. Next one is Droplets, again for the Voiceless matchup, as well as other like Melodious too, because you can't target their stuff. Droplet just not being able to target helps out a lot, as well as sending the evenly matched to negate like Skull Guardians or Appaloosas or anything like that. You have a lot of free discard value in Melodious, so I think this card was really good. I think Droplets is slowly creeping back up into the meta as being one of the better cards. So super important. And then I only played 1 Floodgate. I know a lot of people playing D-Barrier and everything like that. I played Power Sinkstone. This card is just really good in this deck. After you or your opponent resolve 2 monster effects, it places a spell counter or a spell stone counter on this, which once it has 2 spell stone counters, neither player can activate the effects of face-up monsters in the field, and then also everything else is negated. So you kind of just play around their field, and you activate either your Itole, which is your bounce, or your DD Crow with your Shiberta, and you're just kind of shutting down the field at that point. And they just can't play. It's like a better skill drain for you, honestly. So that card was really good. What's up? It was a little bit older. It got reprinted in the Fire King structure deck. But this card is, honestly, like I said, this card is a little bit of a better skill drain for this deck, and then it also just resets every time. So the plus side of that is once it gets passed back to your turn, you're just kind of pendulum summoning a bunch of little dudes and just kind of attacking for game. So super good card. Loved it. Every time I saw it, I won the game. So I wouldn't change that at all. I don't think you need D barrier, honestly, in a deck like this, because we all know Fire King, not Fire King, Snake Eyes is still the best deck of the format. Yeah, Tempai is good, but Snake Eyes is still just too oppressive, and I think that D barrier being in your deck just for a Tempai deck is just not going to do enough for you at this point. So next is just two cosmics. Honestly, these two slots I just didn't know what to do with. They were going to be lightning storms, but I kind of respected skill drains. I expected more flu at the regional and some other stuff, so I kind of just wanted to have quick effect. Spell negate. Also, anti spell kind of hurts this deck a lot. Not being able to activate your pendulum scales or do anything like that just kind of shuts you down and you just can't play the game. So that's super important. Um, Lastly, we played 3D Crow. This was for kind of like branded decks, and few and far between. This should have been something different. I don't know what I would have played over DD Crows, but it honestly should be something. Even like Droll. Droll isn't like 100% good in this format, but it would have been a little bit better into certain matchups that I had and a little more impactful. And lastly, Bell's not bad, but honestly, Bell feels like Bell's really good into like Tempai and like Labyrinth and stuff like that, but it just I don't know. It could be Bell too. I just feel like Bell is very lackluster against the Snake Eyes matchup, and I kind of built my deck just to beat Snake Eyes. I wanted to beat Snake Eyes. So DD Crow was kind of there just because I was like, oh, I can hit like IPs or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, they already have Appaloosa set up. So this card just felt lackluster. I would have rather had the Droll or something just to have it kind of insulate my plays a little bit more. And then lastly was Tam Tam. Melodius is a new deck. People have to read cards. I have to read cards. This card right here is just a burn card. At the end of the day, if your opponent's just reading all your cards, gets into time, you put this in and just kind of go from there. Sadly. Yeah, I know, but sometimes you got to do it, man. All right. So, lastly, extra deck, gravity controller. This is for your plays with your Ostinato. If your Baka gets negated, gravity controller is there, so you can still combo off, still make a full board. So it kind of helps out playing through that. We got IP, SP, pretty generic, probably some of the most broken Link 2s in the game. We have the Protector of the Agent's Moon. This card is just your skill drain out, pretty much. So that's all it was there for. It does out other cards too, but that's really the purpose of that, and that's all it did. So I think I summoned it once, and that was it. And then the broken Link 2 in this deck is the Bloom Harmonious for Melodious Composer. A lot of decks play one of this, but I was scared of Castrated Unicorn. That card just being able to rip a card out of your extra deck, and if you're a smart player and know how the Melodious deck works, if you hit the link, you're probably going to win the game, because this is just part of their extension, and this card is just broken. Summons out two Melodious with different levels, and they can kind of just extend and play through there. So, card's really good. Next is the one fusion, the Bloom Diva. This is for Tempai, but again, if you're a smart Tempai player, you're summoning the level 10 out first. So this never came up. This is usually just a Pot of Prosperity target, sadly. Then we play the two Itole. This card is super broken. This is a non-target, non-cost bounce up to the number of Melodious monsters you have on the field. And so it returns all your opponent's monsters and banishes yours, but yours come back at the end phase. So super good. And I also had, I think my last round against Mr. Fox for Goo Gaming, he ogred this card and had to read what this card does, which it summons out Melodious from the extra deck. So ogring this it felt pretty good because not a lot of people know all the other side effects of Melodious cards. So kind of helped out, just extending from there. And then last couple ones, the Shiberta, it's just a DD Crow for 3, so we play 2 of those. And then 3 Baka. This card is really broken. This card, I know people play 2. You need 3 for the grind game. This card is just, it has like 3 effects in its own, where your Melodious can't be gated, summons out a Melodious on summon, and then when it's sent to the graveyard, summons a Melodious from your graveyard. So it's just like, does so much just for that. And then lastly, Baguska. This card is just for your shifter decks. If they're playing shifter decks, they're probably not outing Baguska. So this just kind of helps you sit there and just kind of gain some resource advantage at that point, play through the shifter, and then just kind of kill him on the crackback. So, but yeah, super fun deck. I really enjoyed this deck. I think it's one of the better decks, honestly, of the format if you know how to play it and pilot it. So hopefully you see some more Melodius going around.
Thanks again for joining us on the channel today, Brad. And for you guys, don't forget to like and subscribe as we have that giveaway once we hit 250 subscribers.